Please stand and join the pledge of allegiance.
No bother sitting.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good meeting over here tomorrow.
Oh, sure. We can do a little of this and see.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, thank you.
That's what I like.
Bad habit I got going. I apologize again. So we'll get started. I'll call this regular school board meeting of 9:35 board to order. And in the absence of Ms. Hermes, any volunteers to be clerk? Great, Matt. Thank you for making eye contact, Matt.
Everybody's looking down. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
Kirby Anderson.
Here.
Melanie Cole.
Here.
Missy Hermes. Natalie Knudsen.
Here.
Steve Vigasa.
Here.
Matt Lemke here. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. And just a quick side note, is this the same agenda then, Elaine, that was emailed?
It was, it just has a personnel addition to it.
Okay.
2 personnel additions to it.
All right,
A
thank you.
resignation and retirement.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as it is before us. Will someone make that motion?
So moved.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The agenda is approved. We have a resolution on acknowledgements, and would say congratulations to the following students that completed the Minnesota State History Day virtual competition. Solvi Smedstead, a grade 10, placed in the top 10 for her exhibit, Elizabeth Catlett, Communicating Black and Mexican Activism Through Art, the Key to Understanding Cultural Heritage. Congratulations also to Aiden Goodwin, grade 7. He received an honorable mention for his exhibit in Morse Code, the Key to Understanding Long-Range Communication. And Maddie Price, 6th grade, took 5th place for her exhibit, Ryan White, A Voice for Communicating and Understanding HIV and AIDS. Very good. Also, congratulations to Keith Pearson for being named Assistant Coach of the Year by the Minnesota Basketball Coaches Association. And thank you to Marjorie Waldham for the monetary donation in memory of Connie Rockstead. So I will offer that resolution and move for its adoption. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on the acknowledgements? Okay. Hearing none. Matt?
Okay, Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. The resolution passes.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to our school board reports and correspondence, starting with Kirby Anderson on his specialized additional tasks.
All right. Nothing on the finance committee tonight, but the 544 Education Foundation has not had a meeting since our last report. We will be meeting this Thursday at noon. And just a couple of things that have happened in the meantime. The senior recognition ceremony is tonight, May 10th, so 544 Foundation is quite involved in that, of course. And they were at the Lincoln School grand opening the other night, and they had a table set up and had a little drawing for some prizes, and trying to just make more contacts with people. And probably one of the only other things that's kind of a big deal is we have now booked the Bigwood Event Center and a band, the Killer V's, not the Killer Bees, the Killer V's, for Friday, June 10th of next year for the all-school reunion. So they've already booked a caterer, and so we're hopeful that everything will be back to normal by then. So June 10th of 2022 for the all-school reunion. And like I say, we'll be meeting again this Thursday. That's all I have.
All right.
Any questions?
Hearing no questions, I'll give my single report because I missed the special education cooperative board today, which if there's anything significant, perhaps superintendent could add it. because he attended. The activities group has not met. And then Region 1, the Joint Powers Board meeting for the Technology Cooperative. There's very little additional to report. We reviewed the budget for last year, which actually came out flush without travel and still utilizing services and some additional, but and set the budget for next year. And that really was about it. That was our primary objective. And so nothing exciting to report. Any questions? Okay, well, I'll keep moving on then, and we will have our next board reports then from Natalie Knudsen.
Wellness Committee has not met, or will not meet again until next fall. And Superintendent Drake might be talking a little bit about Thrive tonight and how that might be working into some of our cultural pieces for next school year. So other than that, nothing new on the wellness spectrum. And then building and grounds, the grand opening of Lincoln School last week, and just still doing some assessments of the different buildings and kind of looking at the future plan, but nothing formal out of that committee.
All right. Any questions for Natalie? We'll move on to you then, Matt.
Okay, Lakes Country Service Co-op Board, we meet actually this Thursday, so I have nothing to report for them. Minnesota High School League did have a finance committee chair meeting, and they updated the board on this. They've held 5 meetings, and the Finance Advisory Committee has established a consensus that $4.5 million should be the responsibility of the membership for the coming year. And they have confidence that the tournament revenues will exceed costs by an estimated $750,000. So at the next meeting of the Finance Advisory Committee, they will discuss a plan to focus on the formula for membership dues and a formula for reducing dues when excess revenue exists. So again, this is kind of a discussion that they've been having ongoing about trying to put more of the responsibility on the members to fund the operations and not necessarily rely solely on or heavily on state tournament revenue and playoffs and stuff like that. So, and also on corporate sponsorships, which have gone down. They did also mention that we'll put a plug in there for Wells Fargo, who is going to continue its partnership with the league for another year at the current support level. And Wells Fargo has been a league sponsor for the past 17 years. Spalding has also renewed its partnership with the league for another 5 years, and under the terms of the agreement, Spalding will continue to provide game balls for softball, basketball, and football state tournaments. So that was part of that part. The other thing that is coming up that they're going to be voting on is we've talked in the past about boys volleyball, and they tabled that for 1 year. And so this meeting is coming up tomorrow, and if approved, this activity will be enacted for the 2021-2022 school year at a state level. Remembering that that's not a school level or a Central Aids Conference level, that's state level. And they've kind of put an emphasis on some of the club sports down in the metro area to start. Also, that's on the docket is girls wrestling. And if approved, girls wrestling would be conducted as a separate division at the state tournament. And if approved, this activity will be enacted also next year. Again, this is at a state level and not at the local level. So just so that people understand that when they're talking about approval of this, is that it takes some time for basically giving the additional opportunities, but again, it's probably tailored to start in the metro and then seeing how that comes out into the rural area. Time will tell. So, and let's see if there's anything else. And then if you've been on the website, they've changed the Minnesota High School League and how it looks, and they just said a typical month, the daily page views are between 20 and 25,000 views a day. So just kind of an interesting thing. So during March though, the website daily views range from 70,000 to 100,000, and that was partially because I think people were looking at where they were going to place people for their reassignment or alignment for section play. So, but yeah, that's all I have to report.
All right. Any questions for Matt?
So does that mean they're not gonna charge admission at the state tournaments, since they're not relying on state tournaments anymore?
No, that means that they will continue to charge.
And then
Quarterly.
still charge schools inflated price?
Well, at whatever their price that they so deem to operate at. So, and I think there'll be also some discussion, I think, the board of directors do, and then also they have regional discussion about it too, so. But I think they're just trying to get away from a formula that was based on more revenue based and trying to go to more of a membership fee base, so.
Nice when you have a monopoly on school sports, you can just do that. It's great. I love Minnesota High School League.
All right, and then for your reports then, Stephen?
Meet and confer is not met or conferred. For curriculum review, it was our last meeting of the year. And so we talked about the work-based learning program and the science program. So the work-based learning program, for those who don't know, I'll just read the description, it describes it very well. It is formalized learning with instruction occurring at the school and at a community-based setting with an employer in the geographical region of the school. Work-based learning is a collaborative endeavor between a student, parents, and employers and the school, and engages the students in real-world activities. So the school, through the school involvement and defined learning, students have opportunity to earn school credit while working. Some stats so basically, what it is not is, like when I was in high school, you basically just go work for an afternoon at this employer. It's actually a little more, I guess, a little more organized, where the students will actually do what they call seminar days, where they learn about subjects like, it's listed here as well, like employees' rights, communication, ethics at work, how to set goals, initiative, leadership, meeting expectations, career and college planning, interests. So really good skills that we want them to learn outside of these walls. Last year they had 29 students in the program with 30 businesses participating. And so even despite COVID, they still had some numbers. She gave some really great examples of students and what they use that for. And I won't go too much into the weeds, but some of these kids, like, they just didn't, it's not meant for kids who don't want to go to college, but it is just, some of these kids just didn't have a desire to go to college, but they had desire to go into a trade or cosmetology or something else where it suited them better to get the experience first, which I think is a totally viable plan for some kids, than just, not everyone just needs to go to college. I mean, you can be successful outside of that and maybe go to college later, to further your career down the road. So for the science curriculum, they had a lot of details here, because the science curriculum updated, the standards updated, where the biggest thing is they're flip-flopping, I think, 8th and 6th grade for physical science, and that's going to be implemented over a course or a bunch of, over the next, I think, 5 years. And they're going to make it so that they don't, the 6th graders don't have to retake earth science, and vice versa. So it's planned out just fine. One of the big themes of the science curriculum that I've noticed, and this is through all grades, is that it's quite project-based, and it uses they use the word phenomena a lot, where real-world phenomena. So they're trying to make the curriculums more applicable to your everyday life, how things work. In high school, I'll just go through the courses that they have to take. They take earth science,
They take biology in 10th grade. They take human anatomy and physiology. Then they're on to environmental science, chemistry. And chemistry is interesting because they do one of the chemistry courses is in what you call a flipped classroom, where basically it's taught online and then all the work is done in class, which I'm sure works for some, doesn't work for others, but it's a different way of doing it. And then we also have physics. And then we also have a college physics class, which is connected to the Crookston Community College, or the Crookston U of M, is that? I can't remember. Yeah, so we offer a pretty wide array, but I just kept seeing the words, problem-based learning projects, making it really understandable, like what you are learning, how does that apply to the real world. Anyways, it was an interesting talk. And that's it for the curriculum. As far as the legislative part of my reports, the MinLeg, the legislature is they're getting to the end of their I guess deadline, which is July 1st to avoid. They have to figure out the next 2-year budget by July 1st. There's a lot of issues going on right now that are causing some gridlock. And interestingly enough, I found out that our legislature, having a Democratic House, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic governor, is the only one in the United States right now that's this divided. And as you can imagine, there's some absolute things that they are trying to resolve, on policing, on Governor Walz's emergency powers, how they're going to structure taxes, what they're going to do with this federal money that's 2.6 billion, along with the state surplus of 1.6 billion. The clean cars, voter ID, marijuana. There's some really big issues that they're trying to hammer out within the next few weeks. So there's just not a lot to really report on, because I could talk about all the crazy bills and things that are out there. And then education is raising their hand like, hey, how much money are we going to get? There's just
Well, and
Not a lot
that's
to-
the part that
yeah.
we're looking for, update from you. Is there anything specific?
No, that's what I was kind of getting to, is that we don't have anything for education as far as how much the schools are going to be getting and that kind of thing. And that's why, it's just the gridlock. And I think that's about it for my reports for now, so.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Any questions for Steve? And then we'll turn to you, Superintendent Drake.
All right, good evening. I want to just acknowledge a couple people for a job well done. Mr. Scharnberg and the cast and crew of The Hound of the Baskervilles. Really fun production over the weekend. So appreciate all the work that the students put into that and the supporting crew. Also thanks to Mr. Tilke and the chaperones and the cleanup crew and custodians for prom. I think the kids had a pretty nice time. It was nice to have the event in person again. So that was an exciting step forward for our students and our district. We are planning some recognitions. Our timelines are a little off kilter this year. Normally, we would do years of service recognition and the Fergus Falls Teacher of the Year as we come back to school in the fall. Because of the COVID restrictions at that time, we're pushing those acknowledgements and recognitions to this spring. And then we also will have our Support Staff of the Year recognition as well. Nominations closed at the end of the day today. And I didn't check it in the afternoon. We had over 30 nominations earlier in the day. So really nice sentiment from staff acknowledging the work of our many support staff to make this a successful year. On the special ed co-op, the main piece of the meeting today really was on personnel. And I would say, not just on personnel, but how difficult it is becoming to find people to fill needed roles in the special ed area. This has been a struggle now for a few years, but Fergus Falls Public School District's looking for 2 special ed teachers right now. The co-op's looking for 1. Some area towns also were in need of special education teachers, and there just are not a lot of people out there for those jobs, so that's an ongoing concern. COVID-19, our numbers, our case rates dipped slightly last week. We're down to 34.83. We had 2 positive cases last week among staff and students, and that's the lowest it's been, probably now for about, I'm going to say about 8 weeks now. So that was good news for us. We did end up quarantining a class today over at Adams School. The governor had a pretty significant news release here last week. Starting on May 7th, there was a rollback on some of the mask mandates. And so for the first time in ages, our students were able to go out at recess and they weren't required to wear a mask. So that was a really nice piece there. On May 28th, the Friday before Memorial Day, all limits and restrictions will come to an end, including for indoor events and gatherings, with a couple caveats. Larger indoor gatherings and really large outdoor gatherings still will have some mask components to it. But really, this announcement, unless we would have any kind of setback, is looking like we'll have a fairly normal, all things considered, graduation ceremony. So that's something to look forward to as well. Then step 3 of his rollback plan is once 70% of Minnesotans age 16 or over get their vaccine, but no later than July 1st, the remaining face covering requirements will be lifted. So the end is at least within sight for some of those things. We'll continue to monitor the governor for any additional guidance on graduation ceremonies and those types of things, but right now, some very positive news moving forward. The Strategic Planning Committee, Facilities Committee will meet this Thursday, and we have a lot of information to go over with multiple scenarios to discuss the pros and cons of in terms of upcoming facility needs and options. The draft of a portrait of graduate, the visual representation, has gone through a couple of edits, but that's something that's getting very, very close to being finalized. We have, it was mentioned earlier, senior recognition tonight at 7 p.m. in the auditorium, so congratulations to all our seniors being recognized. And then some of the big news really was last Thursday's ribbon cutting ceremony out at Lincoln. Very nice evening, very well attended. My thanks to the Otter preschool staff for their work, the Children's Corner staff. 544 was there with a nice display and contributed some history. To Kirby Anderson, who had a really nice display of the original Lincoln School there for people to look at. To the custodial staff helping to get the facility ready. And to all the people that showed up, was very positive. The artist had a kind of a 3-dimensional collage type project the kids were working on, and I heard many, many compliments from people about how nice the school turned out. So a lot of excitement there. Natalie and I met with Leah, who works for the county on the Thrive Initiative. And the Thrive Initiative is really a nice fit for both staff and student wellness moving ahead. We talked about a lot of ideas that are still in development, but the main piece coming out of that would be introducing some of the Thrive wellness topics to our staff in our welcome back in August, September. and have us start, as the adults, start practicing some of the things that lead to better health, happiness, and satisfaction. And then as we build our own internal base, hopefully modeling well these kinds of practices and activities, we would look to roll them out for our students starting second semester. So building our own internal capacity first and then moving forward. The ALC graduation is going to be the evening of June 3rd. KSS graduation is June 4th. And then the other exciting news is that Catherine Anderson and our work-based learning program, in conjunction with Greater Fergus Falls, has put together a virtual career fair. And this was a creative way to solve the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. But they have gone out and done really nice videos with a number of different businesses in the area and interviewing various employees about the kind of work that they do. And it's a nice opportunity for our students to be able to see what different career options are out there. And then it's also a nice advertisement because we continue to look for placements for our work-based learning program. So that is the conclusion of my report unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Drake. We'll move on in our agenda to the general consent items, and we have 3 things on there for consideration for approval. The minutes from our last regular board meeting on April 26th. And then Kirby, enlighten us about the bills and treasurer's report.
Yes, Steve Vigasa and I met with Blake before this meeting and went through the 7 or 8 pages of bills. And I've got a few questions of Blake and clarified some things. Some of the things that we looked at, Brothers Fire Protection, there's about $16,000 there that was in the Lincoln building. Paging and access issues there that we paid for. We also had some playoff expenses that went to Region 6A and Region 8A, total of about $20,000. Elementary yearbooks, we paid for those, that was $6,400. We had a pass-through grant of about $6,000 from the 544 Foundation, and we purchased 30 iPads with that money. We went ahead with bought some track uniforms. We also had a $13,000 bill on the Kennedy chiller to Climate Control Incorporated. Some of the larger numbers, we had $165,000 for the Special Ed Co-op. It's a quarterly payment. And I think the last one, we had about $9,000 for a curtain over at Lincoln in the gym, and I think Children's Corner has kicked in to help pay for part of that as well, or a good part of it. And then the other thing, from a treasurer's perspective, Blake and I have talked about this for a while, as far as where we're at financially in the different funds. And so what he's done is he's come up with a snapshot to compare where we're at right now at the end of April versus where we were at the end of April last year. So in our general fund, last year was just 9.9 million now. We're at 9.9 million now, it was 8.2 million then. So the variance, we're up about 1.7 for the year. Food service up a little bit, community ed up a couple $100,000. Construction was down because of Lincoln, and so on. So we had debt service, trust activities, and so on. So overall, we're in pretty good shape financially, and I appreciate that Blake puts this together, and I've asked him to continue to do that. So makes things a lot more clear. You don't have to go digging for numbers and dig out old reports to see what's going on. So thank you. Any questions on bills?
Thank you. And we'll turn to our HR Director, Elaine Drinkley, for update on personnel.
Good evening, everyone. Few items of hires here. Along with these items, the posting of positions continue. I posted 3 certified teaching positions again today alone, so we will be seeing hopefully more hiring as the meetings progress here into the summer months. Under certified administrative resignations, we have Brad Strand. He was a part-time assistant middle school principal and a math teacher here at Kennedy Secondary School. Heidi Retzloff, IQ Academy Math Interventionist, and Andrew Gorky, PE Health Teacher at Kennedy Secondary School, and these will all be effective at the end of the school year. Certified Staff Retirement, Tamara Anderson, Special Education Teacher here at Kennedy, and we'll have a resolution further down in the under new business for her. Head Coach Resignation, Brad Strand was a head girls basketball coach. And then certified staff hires, we have 2 long-term part-time arts teacher substitutes, Amanda Callahan and Jacqueline Ness Ludwig. So I would request approval of these personnel items tonight.
All right. So that is the listing of the general consent items. Is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second them.
All right, any discussion on any of this? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the general consent items, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved. Under new business, looking for a motion to approve the fiscal year 22 Early Childhood Family Education Consortium membership with Lakes Country Service Cooperative. Would someone be willing to offer that motion?
So moved.
All right, then a second?
Second
Okay. And this information was in the packet. Any discussion? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved. Looking for invitation for fiscal year 22 quotes for milk and related products. Would anyone make that motion? I can't.
You can such a-
I would like to make a motion, I would like to move that we approve that,
Thank you
those quotes.
ever so much. All right, is there a
The
second?
tradition continues.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right. Approval. Looking for a motion to request fiscal year 22 food service bids. Would someone move for that?
So moved.
All right, and a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on it? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that's approved. And looking for another motion, this one to call for bids on all insurance products and programs for ISD 544.
So moved.
All right, and a second?
Second
Okay, any discussion?
I have to recuse from this vote.
All right, thank you. And just generally, anything insurance, you want to be able to review it, Blake?
Correct. General liability, workers' comp, building and contacts, autos, crime, inland marine, so like lawnmowers, tractors, skid steers that we have. Any errors and omissions on insurance, umbrella coverage, so like extra coverage for catastrophic situations, and cyber. That's pretty much everything.
That sounds like it.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. All right. All in favor of approving this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved. And then I'll read a resolution on the retirement of Tamara Anderson. Whereas Tamara Anderson began her employment with Fergus Falls Public Schools in August 1994. And whereas Tamara's been a valued employee with Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 27 years. And whereas Tamara has done an excellent job as a special education and outer adventures teacher for the district, and now therefore be it resolved by Fergus Falls School Board to thank Tamara Anderson for her 27 years of dedicated service to Fergus Falls Public Schools. Will someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer that resolution, move for its adoption.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? And back to you, fill-in clerk, please.
Natalie Knudsen,
Yes.
Steve Vigasa,
Yes.
Melanie Cole,
Yes,
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
thank you. That concludes our regular board meeting, and we will have our next board meeting beginning at 7 a.m. It's our first of the summer schedule. Yeah, Monday, May 24th, here in the Outer Community Room. We'll have a work session with contracts and the Lincoln Land Lease on the agenda. So now I would call for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And we are adjourned. So thank you for your involvement and cooperation.